Now that you've begun to familiarize yourself with QGIS Desktop and the data for Hawaii, you'll learn how to build a map from scratch. You'll rebuild the Hawaii map. Here I have a new QGIS project open. The first step is to add data to my map. QGIS has Add Data buttons for every major geospatial data model, vector and raster. I'll click the Add Vector Data button. This opens the Add Vector Layer window. Let's add one of the Esri shapefiles, which is a file-based dataset. I'll keep the source type on File, which is the default, and then click the Browse button. The Open and OGR supported vector layer window opens. And note, OGR or Ogre is an open source project with the sole purpose to read and write geospatial vector data files. The window defaults to all files. I'll click the drop-down button to show the available options. QGIS can open many different vector file formats. I'll change the filter to Esri shapefiles. I'll select county10.shape and click Open. Now back at the Add Vector Layer window, I'll click Open to add the data to QGIS Desktop. Now I see the County 10 layer in the Layers panel and the map features displayed in the map canvas. Vector GIS layers will come in with random colors. I'll cover how to change your layer styling after all the layers have been added. Now you'll learn another method of adding data to QGIS Desktop. You'll use the QGIS Desktop browser panel. I'll click on the View menu, scroll down to Panels, and choose the Browser panel. Panels can be docked and undocked from the QGIS Desktop window. I can drag the title bar of the Browser panel and drop it right on the Layers panel. It then becomes a tab with the Layers panel. With this arrangement, it's always accessible without taking up additional screen space. Note that there's a Favorites item. You can identify folders or locations as being favorites in order for them to appear here. Data is often stored deep inside a series of folders, and it's often tedious and time-consuming to navigate deep inside the folders to gain access to the data. Favorites provide a way to create a shortcut directly to any folder so that you have one-click access to your folder. Let's create a favorite to our lab folder for practice. I'll navigate to the data folder in the browser panel. I'll right-click on the data folder and choose Add as a Favorite. Now I'll expand Favorites. I'll see the Lab 2 data folder listed. Setting the folder as a favorite allows me to quickly navigate to it. I see 6 shapefiles in the Lab data folder. I can select them all by holding down the Control key on my keyboard while left-clicking on each shapefile. I'll select the 5 shapefiles I haven't added and drag the 5 selected shapefiles onto the map canvas from this browser panel. This is another way of adding geospatial data to QGIS Desktop. I'll switch to the Layers panel. The random colors that QGIS assigns to your layers may be different than the ones shown in this video, but that's fine. You'll rename and reorder these layers as specified in the lab. I've gone ahead and done this. Now you'll learn how to style these layers. I'll double-click on the Main Roads layer to open up Layer Properties. Then I'll select the Style tab. In the Symbol Layers box, I'll select Simple Line. The Symbol Layer Type box allows you to change both the color and the width for this line layer. I'll click on the colored box to the right of Color to open up the Color Picker window. You can use the tabs across the top to open a color ramp, a color wheel, color swatches, or a color picker. You can also use the HSV and RGB sliders on the right side to define a specific color. I'll click the Color Swatches tab. I'll choose black from the standard colors. And click OK. Back at the Layer Properties window, I'll click OK again to see the new style applied to the roads layer. Using the same technique, you'll change the rivers to blue. I've gone ahead and done this. Now I'll work on the county boundary styling. I'll double-click on the County Boundaries layer to open up the Layer Properties to the Style tab. In the Symbol Layers box, I'll click on Simple Fill. This is a polygon layer, so I have the option to change both the fill and the border colors and their respective styles. I'll click on the Color Fill patch to open up the color picker. Here I'll use the red, blue, and green color slider to define the color. I'll set the RGB values to 215, 194, 158. I'll click OK to set the color. You'll use this technique to change the styling of the native Hawaiian homelands. I've gone ahead and done this. Now I'll style the 2 point layers, cities and hospitals. I'll open the Layer Properties Style tab for the Cities layer. I'll click on Simple Marker. From the available simple markers at the bottom of the symbol layer type, I'll choose the square. I'll change the fill to white and the size to 2. And click OK to accept these changes. Now I'll open the Layer Properties to the Style tab for the hospitals. Again, I'll choose Simple Marker. Then I'll click the drop-down menu for the symbol layer type. For point data, there are several different sets of marker symbols. I'll choose SVG marker. A large list of SVG groups organized by folders will appear in the symbol window. I'll click on the Emergency folder and choose the cross symbol. You can change the colors and sizes of these SVG symbols. I'll change the fill color to a dark blue and leave the size at 7. I'll click OK. Now I'll zoom to Oahu. The map's coming together. Next I'll add labels to the cities. Labels are created from attributes, and to see what's available, I'll right-click on Cities and choose Open Attribute Table. Each table row represents data for one of the city points. You can see that there's 26 cities in the layer. Each column contains things we know about each city point. Notice that there is a column called Name containing city names. I'll use this to label the cities. I'll close the table by clicking the X in the upper right-hand corner. I'll open the Layer Properties to the Labels tab for cities. Instead of No Labels, I'll choose Show Labels for this layer. Then I'll click Label With and choose the Name column. Along the left-hand side are several labeling tabs that allow you to specify the appearance and behavior of the labels. There's the Text tab, the Formatting tab, the Buffer tab, Background, Shadow, Placement, and Rendering. I'll select the Buffer tab. I'll click the checkbox next to Draw Text Buffer. This will place a halo around the label, making it easier to read against the busy background. I'll keep the default size of 1 and the color of white. And I'll click OK on the Layer Properties window to accept these changes. With that done, I'll save my project. In the next task, I'll add some data collected in the field to my map.